What is the best way to bet on the affluent emerging middle class of India? Autos, consumption, I mean, what is the best way to really bet on?
We express that in our portfolio in many ways. Hospitals is one of them.
Okay.
So if you look at most hospitals now, the private hospitals, the general ward used to be more than a third of their patient population. That has now come down to 15%. It won't be zero, but it's rapidly coming down.
Isn't that sector regulated? Every time something goes up, you've got a notification coming from the government, okay, this is the charge slip. You cannot charge beyond that. It's happened in knee surgery, it's happened in heart surgery. I think there's a notification in terms of how much you can charge per bed also. I mean, isn't that sector runs a regulatory risk?
There's some regulatory risk, but what we have seen over the last 4 years, coming out of COVID, is that in certain sectors, the government has been very thoughtful in acknowledging what they can do on their own and where they need the private sector. So if you look at, we were talking about EMS earlier, if you look at the air conditioner industry, compressors largely still come from China. That part of the supply chain has not been targeted.
Deepika, I guess Vikas must have got Coldplay at some of the global venues that they've already performed at. But just going by the kind of frenzy that there is, I mean, I'm not just talking about Coldplay. It also gives you a sense of that, feel-good factor out there. Just so many concerts and the kind of demand that's happening. What's that telling you about urban consumption? Is that a trend which is here to stay? I mean, you did talk about airlines briefly, but what about expanding it to other sectors?
So definitely, I mean, we see it in our daily lives all the time, whether it's quick commerce, whether it is airlines themselves, every plane any of us have taken in the last months, it's always been full. International travel, domestic travel. So hotels, for instance, I think there was some concern that hotel rates have peaked out, but what you've seen even at these peakish rates, occupancies are so stable, you've not seen them dwindling at all. And as India becomes a larger part of the global supply chains and things like that, you'll see a lot of foreign travel also coming into India as such. So I would say hotels, airlines, discretionary consumption, all of which is not unfortunately present in the listed space, but we can see evidence of that, and real estate.
What is the outsized bet in your portfolio where when you go to your investors, you would say, look, market is positioning X, my positioning is Y. This is an outside idea. And if you give us the opportunity to manage money, we would be able to give better returns because of this outsized idea. What is that?
So we have several active bets in the portfolio, which are well above what's constituted in the benchmark.
Out of the 70 stocks, how many companies have made it to your portfolio in the last 12 to 18 months, which are pure fresh additions?
In the last 12 weeks?
12, 18 months.
12 to 18 months?
Yeah.
The small and mid cap, there's a constraint on the allocation that we can make to that. We're not at the max, but it's the highest that it has been. It's doubled over the last 12 months. Deepika joined in September. We've been going through a lot of sectors. We've gone down the market cap curve. So a lot of the new additions have happened there. And though we take very long-term views, if you use defense as an example, Aisha and I spoke the day of the election results. And at that point, we had materially reduced our exposure to defense. Since then, that sector broadly has materially underperformed. We still like it, as Deepika mentioned, for the long term. That is a theme that will be around for a long time.
Great having.
There comes a time when your heart calls for you to arise. Plant your feet solid into the ground. Decide your own limits. And then break right through them. Become something more. It's my time to rise.